wonderful field day here at the Greenlee Research Farm. It's part of the North Missouri REAP. And about 150 farmers came out to hear some of the latest findings that they have out here. We had 3 different tours. We got a crop tour, a pest management tour, and a livestock tour. Now, the crop management tour started off with a graduate student. He talked about his research on different end sources for corn. Now, we're used to having Super U or just urea. Well, he's testing a new product that has some different characteristics and determining, did you get better yielding improvement? Do you get better nitrogen utilization? And some great results off that. But then his advisors talked about redoing the corn nitrogen recommendations. The last time we did this was 1984. And as we all know, corn hybrids have changed a lot since 1984. And so they'll be doing this all across the state of Missouri. And the data that they got so far is showing that corn is a lot more efficient now than it was in 1984. So you'll be seeing some different recommendations coming down the pipes for our corn or nitrogen that'll make our yields more efficient and maybe even more greater yield potential. We also had Guprit talk about her flooding of soybeans. Now, every year, like this year, we'll get these big rains and get 8 or 10 inches of rain and the soybeans go underwater. Well, what she's finding is after 3 days underwater, most cultivars start showing some issues. 7 days, we've got significant yield decreases. So what they're going to be looking at now is, can they develop varieties that can withstand that flooding? And our sister research station down at the Delta Center is looking into those new varieties that can take some of this flooding issues. She also had a graduate student, again, another graduate student, talking about her research on industrial hemp. Since 2019, when we were able here in Missouri to grow industrial hemp, a lot of research is starting to go on, and they're finding that there's big differences in varieties. There's some weed control measures to work out, and the location of our industrial hemp makes a big difference. We're finding out Northwest Missouri has some of the best hemp ground around. On our IPM tour, we started out with Mandy Bish talking about tar spot. And we can't talk enough about tar spot because that is a big issue. And she's finding that if you do find tar spot, you normally have a return on your investment. You need about 10 bushels per acre to get this, and you get this almost every time, especially when you apply between V9 and R3, about the milk stage. That's when you get the biggest return on your investment. However, foliar soybeans just aren't paying off. Only about 21% of the time with foliar soybeans actually pay off by using that. Kevin Bradley talked about drone technology. We know drone technology is used for fungicides, and he said that they're doing a great job with fungicides, but herbicides are a little different. There's some issues that come up. Spray patterns, nozzles, all become an issue. They also have to compensate for the wind, and when you're doing herbicide, you can get overlaps too much or under application. So it's not as quite as sound technology yet in the herbicides, but Kevin is very, very confident in the next coming few years we'll see much greater improvement in our herbicide applications with drones. Finally, we wound up with Ivyar, our new state entomologist. Again, he talked about scouting, the importance of scouting our fields, and for every 50 acres, you need to be out there 4 different places. And you're not just on the edge of the field, but you need to walk out into the field because you'll see whole different populations out there. But you should be able to identify what you're seeing too, because for example, a Japanese beetle is a foliar feeder, whereas a stink bug is a piercing, sucking mouthpart. Totally different types of management practices, also different threshold levels, so we gotta really know what we're looking at when we're out in the field. And the soybean gall midge is one that we need to also worry about. It affects the lower part of the plant. We haven't seen it yet in Missouri too much, but it could be an issue coming down the pipes. Now, a livestock tour, we started out with one of our brand new faculty, Carson. He's at the Cornett Farm, and he talked about summer forages, in particular pearl millet and sorghum Sudan. And not all sorghum Sudan is the same. There's just a regular sorghum Sudan that's inexpensive, and your quality is not quite as good as the brown midrib sorghum Sudan, and there's another one coming out that is a dwarf version of that, where the lower internodes are not as elongated, so you get less stem this way, but the same number of leaves, so you get a lot higher quality when you do that. Well, Dr. Rosie, again, was here from last year, talked about her tick project. Now, there's this anaplasmosis in livestock that comes from the dog tick. It comes from the males. So she's doing a lot of work trying to find how that is distributed in Missouri. And what she's finding out, though, she's not finding near as many of these ticks as they are having cases. So what now they're starting to think is that maybe they need to rethink how this disease is spread. Maybe one animal gets it, then spreads it to the rest of them when they have their common areas. So this is great research that's really rewriting how we look at the spread of these diseases. And there's also two more ticks out there, the Lone Star tick and the Longhorn tick. And the Longhorn tick came from Asia. And the problem with that, a lot of them say it reproduces asexual, so we can't control it as easily. So that is an issue that's coming there. And finally, Jamie Cordier talked to us about our efficiencies with our livestock in terms of genetics. You know, we just don't select them by random. There's ways of doing this. There's EPDs, expected progeny development. There's also the genetic way of doing this. So what she was talking to us about is how you can cull your herd very, very early in the life cycle, so you don't spend thousands of dollars and have to wait 3 years to find out that those calves aren't what you expected them to be. So there's a lot of new and exciting research coming out of the livestock industry about how we can better manage our herd genetics. And that's what's important, because because our whole yield is that genetic by environment interaction, and we can control both the genes and also the environment by making a better quality forage like Carson was talking about. So again, we had a great field day here at the Greenlee Research Farm as part of the North Missouri Research and Extension Center, and we can't wait till next year when we learn about even more of this great research that's coming down the pipes. We'll talk to you later.